Yo guys, welcome to the last lap. Don't forget to drop a lovely, juicy 5-star rating if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hope you enjoy, and let's get into it.
There's one team that we haven't touched on thus far. I'm sure that you have this on your agenda, Niran.
Yeah, don't worry, it was next.
McLaren.
Yeah.
Are we allowed?
Yeah, we are. We are firmly.
Okay.
Now, obviously, we've got Peter here in McLaren merch, ready to discuss what on earth Bahrain was and what on earth you're expecting for Saudi Arabia.
Look, question. Were we better this year's Bahrain as we were last year? I would argue probably to a degree because all the cars have got better, all the cars have got faster, right? But we finished... We were the only team on the podium, by the way, last year outside of the top three, right? Remember, Lando Norris got that Imola podium, yeah? Oh dear. I think with McLaren, what's annoying is it's the fact that the excuse has been made that we got caught out last year with the regulations slightly changing, so it's kind of messed up our whole sort of design of what we were going to do with this car with the next couple of years. We've had to restart a new car as well, and we haven't got our wind tunnel yet. We haven't got all the right pieces are not actually there in place, and Andrea Stella's got a huge job on his hands. And whether Seidel kind of dipped, knowing like,
this is a wrap.
This is long. This is actually kind of long. It might be one of those situations there, but I genuinely think, look, he's got his own fish to fry at Sauber. But I think with McLaren, I don't think McLaren fans should panic. I'm here to give people some safety net.
You're here to give them.
I'm here to give them the
safety
net because this is what it is. Because last year we were sweating and we were thinking, hang on a minute, what's going on with this McLaren? Because we were, since Zach came in and Seidel came in, we were actually slowly progressing, slowly but surely. Then Ferrari kind of just left us last year, and it was like, oh damn, what are we going to do? So I think there's going to be slow stages with our car this year. Baku, just keep your eyes closed and wake up in Baku, McLaren fans. That's what I'll say, because that's when that upgrade comes there. Don't expect necessarily too much from the next couple of races. It's Saudi and Australia. So yeah. I wouldn't expect too much from these two. But I think over the course of the season, I was hearing people saying we're lucky to finish 6th. No. We will be. Stella said we're fighting for top 4. That's what he said. Mate. That's what he said.
Champions League settings.
And the thing is, he knew this. It's not like he didn't know what this car was capable of. He said this at testing. So I'm sitting there thinking, hang on a minute, that's a bold move to make. Now, did he know Aston Martin would be where they are? Maybe. Because Aston Martin was spoken about. There was whispers going around before the first, before they first went out on track. Then they proved, oh yeah, this car is quick. Mm-hmm. I think we'll finish P5 this year.
Peter, I think that them
there's a lot of copium going on there.
I think that them are selling wolf tickets and snake oil.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's nonsense, bruv.
We will
evidently nonsense.
Listen,
that car, come on.
Our tunnel's coming this year. Right? It might not work too much on this year's car. It might work on next year's car. 2025, yeah, Aston Martin, watch your backs, okay? But that's the here nor there. That's here nor there.
Come on.
2025,
come on, Peter.
Like anyone could be there in 2025. But I think, look, I don't think it's as doom and gloom as everybody has portrayed it to be, as the media has portrayed it to be. I saw people's predictions and they were putting us last in the constructors. I thought, we're not slower than the Williams, we're not slower than the Haas, we're not slower than Alfa Romeo, nor Alfa Tauri.
Yet.
Now, do you know what I mean? Like I genuinely think over the course of the season, because they're not a shoddy team. It's just they all know what the problem is. Look, we didn't even make our own targets, right? So never mind like trying to reach anybody else's. We flopped our own base at the start of the season. Cool. Let's rectify that problem. Mercedes, yeah, let's rectify that problem. And over the course of the season, I think, slowly but surely, we will be back to a place of integrity with McLaren. I don't think we're as bad as we were.
Go on, I was about to say, one thing I do agree with is better than last year. Technically speaking. No, I mean, as in the first Grand Prix of last year. If we looked at Bahrain last year, you literally finished like 19th.
Because last year was a shock. Last year was because of the year prior, because 2020 was decent, right? Yeah, we lost out to Ferrari at the end, but it was a decent season. And we could have had a race win. We could have had 2 race wins that year. We had one with Danny Rick, but Lando in Russia, unfortunately. But the thing is, last year, like no McLaren fan expected to see what happened when they saw Bahrain. And we were like, the brakes couldn't stop firing or whatever else. And then we had Danny Ricciardo in the car as well, who was not having the best season. Now, whether it's a case of it's to do with the fact that, Danny Rick needs to have a specific type of car because he's not a slouch. He needs to have the specific type of car in order to be back at the front end of the grid. I think McLaren will get there over the line over the course of time and will swing with Alpine.
May I, Niran? Permission to intervene. The people versus McLaren. May the prosecution approach the stand. Look, check this out. The car is an SH1T box, and it's been there are parallels between Mercedes and McLaren, not least the engine. Yeah.
We're having a mid-off here, by the way, Mercedes versus...
Oh, yeah.
It's the mid-off.
God. Look, so there are parallels. What these drivers don't want, as I understand, is unpredictability and instability. That's why Danny Rick couldn't handle it. Last of the late breakers, Danny Rick jumps on the brake pedal as late as possible and doesn't know what the bloody car is going to do. Is he going to oversteer? Is he going to understeer? Am I going to get instability on turning, apex, on the exit of the corner? I have no idea. So that's why Danny Rick couldn't drive it. And that's why Lando is out here punching walls because he's frustrated with the car and the handling dynamic. Here's a similarity. The design philosophy at Mercedes, they've done this peaky performance curve nonsense where if it's a full moon and Lewis has had his Weetabix that morning, if everything aligns, mate, if the stars align and everything's perfect, then potentially they could have the quickest car on the grid, potentially. Problem being, that happens 1 in 365 bloody days of the year. The rest of the year, Red Bull have an RB18 and RB19 now, where a lower performance curve, but with more area accessible underneath it. McLaren have done a similar thing, right? They have a car that, again, Weetabix, full moon, could potentially be quite quick, but it's accessing that and having Lando not be so cheesed off to where he's punching walls because he doesn't know on turning what the car's going to do.
Yeah.
What's that about, mate? That's your problem.
Yeah. The fact is, like, when I said, like, the car is better than last year in terms of, like, relatively from Bahrain to Bahrain, I do agree in terms of pace. The problem that you have now is that was all down to just not understanding the car.
Yeah.
We all understand the cars now. You're not going to find that level of time during a season again.
But what's good
the gap between McLaren and the field, not the midfield, to Mercedes and Aston Martin was large at Bahrain. Bridging that, you are hoping for best of the rest, realistically. And that's not what McLaren should be hoping for. We've had enough opportunities now, realistically. And I love McLaren, I love Lando, whatever. I want McLaren to bridge that gap.
It's McLaren.
It's McLaren.
No,
Aston Martin have done it.
Bruce.
It's possible. It's possible. McLaren are next up. Do you know what I mean? They should always be there as the next team. If they're not there, they should be the team that is about to be there.
Day glow McLaren settings. That's my favourite livery to this bloody day. McLaren. This is heritage that we're talking about now, and I don't want to get all Arsenal 2017 on you, mate. But there needs to be,
in the car.
bruv. There needs to be change. And you know what? Some may say that Mr. Zach Brown might be on fraud watch imminently if he isn't already. Peter, tell me I'm talking rubbish here.
Well,
mate.
interesting, because Zach Brown now is focused solely on the business of McLaren, right? So, and that's what he's been doing. And McLaren's been doing great. Remember when he rocked up, we had no sponsors, right? Now that car's tattooed with everything you can find, right?
Sponsors don't make the car go quick.
No, of course not. But he brings the money in. We were making people redundant. We were, people on furlough and whatnot.
This is fair.
Business side, as a CEO, he's doing his job. And hence why we needed a Seidel, we need a Stella to deal with the performance. And I think over the course of time, maybe Stella's the Mikel Arteta of the situation. Who knows? You never know whether or not. I'm just saying, just trust the process. Look, the good thing, what I like about this situation is, look, McLaren messed up and they know they messed up and they said, right, let's start again. So we are going to be on the back burner for a bit. Hold tight. We will be back. Like I say, in the next couple of years is when you're looking at McLaren being, as you said, the next one. If they're not there, it's the next team that will be arriving. James Key is the fraud watch, not necessarily Zach Brown.
Oh, let's go. The only reason why I put Zach Brown not me personally, but the community has put Zach Brown on fraud watch potentially, is because wasn't he saying 2 years from now, 2 years ago?
He was.
So what's happened with that?
It depends.
Gone backwards.
It depends. It depends who made that. The thing is, the regulation did change, right? But also, who's made that mistake in the designing of that car, in the concept of what the car was meant to be for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And also, a couple of things. And I don't want to put the blame on this because I don't think it's fair. But just the idea that our wind tunnel is where? In Cologne, right? And we're getting parts. Is it Toyota's old spot?
That's chaos.
No, but like, you know, if we...
Ron Dennis used to curse Toyota.
If we used to... Yeah, now we're using Toyota's, what they used to have. So we're renting that space. That's going to cost shed loads of money. Then when we decide that we're going to use something that's going to be worthy of the car, we have to wait for it to get delivered. I mean, like there's all kinds of... So we need to make sure that we can have everything in-house and then crack on. Because when you look at our like facilities, especially like, you know, sort of MCQ or whatever, like that place is state of the art. So it's almost like we've almost got all the puzzles in place, bar that wind tunnel. I think that's the last piece of the puzzle. But James Key is he has to. What's ironic is he seems to be getting more and more responsibility. And look where McLaren has gone the last couple of years. Whereas when Seidel and Zach came in, we kind of went up from what was before, because it was hell on earth, 2017, 18 type of, those sort of times.
Peter, I would say the issue is I was listening to a conversation between Toto and his missus, Susie Wolf.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And they were talking about leadership and accountability. And Susie encountered when she was managing her team, encountered some issues with the front axle and complained to Toto and said, front axle, this is damaging our team. But what the fudge do I know about front axles?
Yeah.
Toto's response is, as the leader of this team, the buck stops with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fix it, Susie, Toto responded. And so I respond in kind similarly to Zach Brown. All of the design issues, okay, so you haven't got the pen out, you're not Adrian New, you're not designing the car, but ultimately the buck stops with you.
You hire and find the right people to do the job.
You hire and fire the right people. Ultimately, at the board meeting with the Sovereign Wealth Fund, you are going to be held responsible.
Yeah.
So what now? What's the action, Zach? Because you said 2 years, we'll be challenging. That 24 months has elapsed now.
Yeah.
And we are not challenging, say McLaren fans. Yeah.
A big thing as well for McLaren, and this is the last thing before we get into the last segment. I just want to ask as well, we spoke about drivers, the driver lineup at McLaren. We spoke about Lando a lot and where he goes if McLaren don't perform. I want to, if you're Oscar Piastri, what are you thinking now? Because you've just arrived, you've got plenty of time, it's all good. Do
you know what,
Oscar, but at the same time, you just sacked off Alpine.
McLaren. It depends what kind of rationale you have. Are you somebody who is very reactive? You see a situation come at you and then you sort of get emotionally reactive in that situation? Or do you look at the scope long term?
Yeah.
Alpine for him, yes, thing with Alpine as a team, in all the years of history in Formula One, they've always had potential. We've never seen that potential come into fruition since Alonso winning a title there, right? So you look at the Alpine and I can understand, maybe he saw the mess. Maybe he saw the mess Alonso saw. Mark Webber as well, being his sort of his right-hand man, sort of thinking, no. He's seeing what the issues could be here and where you need to position yourself in order to try and put yourself closer to the front of the grid as you can. Now, McLaren are in a bit of a mess right now. At least Oscar, this season, can hide behind that car. Because at least he can say, you know what, he's come through with this big reputation of how great he was in F2 and F3 and whatnot, and how much of a great driver he is. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a sensational driver. He can hide behind this. He doesn't need to panic. He will have his eyes on Alpine, watching them over the course of the season. They won't be that spectacular, and they won't be that far off McLaren.
Oh, hold on a second, Peter. I'm gonna fact check your maths here.
Yeah. Boom,
so
boom.
You just talked about Renault and said that they haven't delivered since Alonso, yeah?
Properly,
2006, yeah?
Yeah.
When was the last time that McLaren delivered?
Sure.
2008,
yeah.
The prosecution rests.
But the difference is that Renault, Alpine, they kind of were always at the precipice of next year they'll be there. Next year they'll be at the front.
What's Zach Brown been saying, Peter?
Say again?
Zach Brown's been saying exactly the same thing.
No, but Zach Brown's got 2 years of experience in that part. We're talking about Renault from like 2010, from like 2013,
team,
then
Peter.
again in 2015 when Ricciardo joined the team. It was on the up and it was right there on the cusp, and then it's fallen again. And then again, here we are with Otmar, and we're looking at a team that they're going to come to they can sort of have a knock on the door in that third place. And again, where are they? Where are Alpine this year? In your opinion?
I actually, honestly, on my life, I don't know.
Exactly.
Because if there's one team that I genuinely don't know where the heck they're going to
they've got speed.
stack up is Alpine.
I think they might be after Aston. Let's look at this now. We're going to have to change
Good
the
recovery from
definition.
Gasly, by the way.
Oh yeah, true. I was going to have to change the definition of the big three, right? So after bloody Nora, after Aston, Ferrari, and Red Bull. I think
put Mercedes in that category. I'm telling you, the Mercedes,
top four,
Mercedes will finish third, even maybe second this season. Mercedes is third and second. Forget fourth. They're not fourth. They're the top three side in Formula One.
I don't hear it, but still.
I don't hear it.
Fair enough. Let's wait. 22 races to go.
Yeah, trust.
You know what I'm saying? We'll see over the course of the season. And like I said, they're no mugs. They're gonna sort their mess out eventually. And sorry to use that word, but they will get better over the course of the season. That's the top three. Aston Martin's fourth, fighting and swinging second and third places. Right? They're swinging, but they are fourth.
I don't know if I'm buying you Wolf tickets, Peter.
Say it again.
I don't know if I'm buying you Wolf tickets on
Fair
Mercedes. how in a cost cap era, and this is a rhetorical question, how in a cost cap era do you ditch the no side pod having W14 and configure yourself a brand new design philosophy mid-season when you had no plan B in a cost cap 135 million or whatever it is now?
Even for next season, it's going to be, it's not completely irreversible, but I think they would just, if they were going to do that, they just have to accept that next season's going to be tough.
But that's where you place all, that's the basket in which you place all your eggs. Similarly with McLaren.
As Toto says, the time doesn't lie, the stopwatch doesn't lie, but so does the points on the board. They don't lie.
Yeah, no, fact.
They don't lie. So we'll see as the season goes on.
I'm fingers and toes crossed for McLaren, man. They were once upon a time my favourite team. Dayglow McLaren, behave yourself. That was ridiculous.